By the time I pulled into the dusty driveway of my parents' ranch outside Tucson, Arizona, the place was already buzzing with life. Cars lined the gravel path, and I had to park my truck a ways down the road, hauling a pan of homemade pecan pie and a bundle of wrapped presents through the warm December breeze. The porch lights flickered like distant stars against the fading sunset, casting long shadows over the cactus-lined yard. I paused there, hoping someone might swing the door open, maybe flash a welcoming grin. But no one did. So I balanced the pie on one arm, shifted the gifts, and nudged the door with my boot. Inside, the house thrummed with laughter and the clatter of plates from the kitchen. The aroma of smoked brisket and green chili stew hung heavy, but it didn't wrap around me like it used to, not like home anymore. Emily, my sister's voice cut through the chatter. Sophia stood by the old stone fireplace in a flowy sundress that screamed effortless chic, a beer bottle dangling from her fingers like an extension of her hand. We weren't sure you'd show up this year. Her words landed like a slap, casual but pointed. I forced a nod, handed the pie to a cousin shuffling by, and scanned the room for the seating chart tacked to the wall like some wedding setup. I looked once, twice, my name was nowhere. Well, Sophia said, sidling up, you can grab that spot at the kids' table in the corner. Last-minute RSVPs threw us off. The kids' table was a rickety card table shoved against a pantry, with plastic chairs and mismatched plates. I didn't argue. My silence screamed enough. I sat next to my 7-year-old nephew, who knocked over his soda 5 minutes in, soaking his jeans. Across the room, Sophia chatted with Dad about her latest real estate flip in Phoenix. Mom clinked bottles with the neighbors from down the valley. Me? I poured myself a glass of red wine, cradled it in my palms, and let it sit untouched, the warmth seeping into my skin while everything else felt cold. Later, I overheard Mom introducing me to some distant relative from Colorado. This is Emily, she said. She's dropping by for the holidays. Dropping by? Not her daughter. Not the youngest, just a visitor blowing through like tumbleweed. I stare at the twinkling lights on the saguaro cactus we decorated instead of a tree, the colors blurring as my eyes stung. Last year, there'd been a little note on my chair. Welcome home. My niece, Lily, had barreled into my arms, begging to make tamales like we always did. This year, she barely glanced my way. When I cornered her in the hallway by the bathroom, she fidgeted. Mom said you don't belong here anymore, she whispered. So I thought, maybe you're not family. I knelt down, my heart twisting like barbed wire. I'll always be your aunt, I murmured. But even as the words left my lips, doubt gnawed at me. Was it true? The evening dragged, Sophia toasting to family ties stronger than steel. My work as a financial consultant never came up. The only nod I got was if I'd driven from Denver or flown. Not about my life, my struggles, just logistics. It felt like I'd faded into the background, invisible as the desert dust. Outside, the night air was crisp with a hint of mesquite smoke. I sat in my truck, engine off, thumbing through a draft email I'd written days before. I won't be back next year. And here's why. My finger hovered over send, then I deleted it. Not because I was backing down, but because words weren't enough anymore. Actions would have to do the talking, and mine were about to roar. I didn't head back inside immediately. After double-checking my truck's bed was loaded tight, I lingered on the porch steps. The stars overhead were sharp, the kind you only see in the wide-open west. But they didn't comfort me. They just reminded me how small I felt in this vast emptiness. When I finally slipped back through the kitchen door, the gathering had settled into its rhythm. Everyone clustered around the main table, except me, of course. I reclaimed my corner spot, back to the wall, half hidden from the glow of the fireplace. Sophia had claimed my old seat next to Dad. I told myself it shouldn't sting, but it did. Like salt in a fresh cut. Mom stood, tapping her bottle with a fork. Before we dig into dessert, a toast to our shining star, Sophia, for closing that big deal in Scottsdale. Your dad and I couldn't be prouder. Claps rippled through the room. My hands stayed folded in my lap. I watched Sophia soak it in, like she'd earned every drop of praise. Then the lights dimmed, and a projector hummed to life. A slideshow started, backed by some twangy holiday tune. Photos flashed, barbecues, rodeos, family hikes in the canyons. I braced myself. There it was, last Thanksgiving's group shot. I remembered standing right beside Dad, arm around Lily, mid-laugh. But in the image?
Gone.
Erased, like I'd never been there. A cousin leaned over,
Smirking.
Funny how you vanish from pics.
Huh.
I stayed silent, but inside, something fractured. I hadn't disappeared. I'd been cut out, like a flaw in their perfect narrative. Not forgotten, deliberately removed.
Moments latte.
I recalled I'd been asked weeks ago to give a quick toast before sweets. Nothing fancy, just a reflection to balance Sophia's spotlight. I found the organizer, a young neighbor with a clipboard. Hey, I think I'm slotted for a toast, I said softly. She checked her list.
Shrugged.
We're running late. Mrs. Harlan said to skip to Sophia's wrap-up. Of course. Wouldn't want to delay the star. I returned to my seat as Sophia launched into her polished speech, quoting motivational gurus and thanking everyone for upholding our legacy. My fists clenched under the table. It wasn't the oversight that burned. It was knowing they remembered me and chose to pretend I didn't count. Dad stirred his coffee, avoiding my gaze. Mom caught my eye and offered a smile so fragile it could crack. I smiled back, the kind that masks a storm brewing inside. This wasn't accident, it was intentional. A calculated snub. An old family friend, Mrs. Ramirez, with her signature turquoise jewelry,
Leaned in.
You're right, darlin'. I met her eyes, nodded faintly. I'm just tuning into the quiet, I replied. She tilted her head, puzzled, but I understood. The loudest hurt wasn't the cropped photo or skipped slot, it was realizing no one else noticed my absence. That silence didn't echo, it swallowed you whole. If they could overlook me so easily, maybe vanishing for good was the only way out. After the last truck rumbled away and the porch lights flickered off, I found myself alone on the steps again. The same steps where I'd chased fireflies as a kid, where we'd watched monsoon storms roll in every summer.
Now.
It was just weathered wood that held no memory of me. The Arizona night had cooled, carrying the faint scent of creosote bushes after rain. I pulled my jacket tighter and sank onto the top step, my boots tapping the rail, an old nervous tic from when I felt too small for the grown-up conversations. Tonight wasn't nostalgia, it was a reckoning. The kind of quiet that bites deep. A snippet from earlier replayed in my head, Sophia joking with the cousins as I passed. You know Emily's big venture? Total bust. She laughed. Light, but laced with venom. Poured in all that cash just to circle back to square one. Chuckles followed. Polite and hollow. I kept walking, tucking it away like I always did. The same way I'd tucked away the check I wrote in 2015 for her business school loans. That bust venture? Its sale funded her degree. They didn't know because I never boasted. I thought helping was enough. I didn't crave the spotlight, just didn't want to be painted as the failure. In my mind, I relived signing that transfer. I'd just secured my first major client, celebrated with drive-through tacos and cheap beer. It didn't matter. I was forging my path, my worth, my identity. But tonight, I'd been reduced to a punchline in my own home. When I'd hinted at it once, Mom waved it off. That's what family does.
Honey,
You're overthinking. Overthinking. And introducing me tonight? This is Emily. She's still figuring things out. At 34. Managing millions in portfolios for Denver firms. But to her, I was adrift because my road didn't match hers. The words didn't sting as much as her belief in them. My business cards sat untouched in my purse, gold embossed with my title, Emily Harlan, CFP. I didn't hand any out. They'd have ended up in the trash. I traced the letters, feeling the weight of years spent proving myself in a world that didn't see me. You learn a lot about your place by what gets omitted when you're not looking. I'd seen that in a self-help book once. Now it felt like fate. It wasn't just this gathering, it was every year I let them label me the dreamer, the emotional one. Too intense.
truth was,
I'd quietly covered ranch repairs, Lily's summer camps, even bailed Uncle Joe out of a tax mess. But my name never made the toasts. I was useful, not celebrated. I pulled out my phone, stared at the blank screen. I wouldn't post, but I drafted to the ones they edit out and those who build empires anyway. I saved it. Not ready yet. The next morning, I filled my thermos with coffee. The truck bed was still packed. I'd loaded it days ago, knowing deep down this might be the end. It was past midnight when I finally crashed in the guest room, still in my jeans, the denim rough against my skin as I scrolled mindlessly. Sophia's Instagram popped up first. Posted just after 11. Family first. Always. Heart emoji. Desert sunset filter. I tapped the photo, regretting it instantly. There they were, Mom and Dad bookending her by the cactus tree, beers raised. Lily knelt in front, beaming. I'd been right next to her when the shutter clicked. But the crop was surgical.
not oversight choice.
Then a text pinged. Missed you at Christmas? From a cousin I hadn't seen in years. I was there, I typed, then erased. Rewrote, just not in the shot. No reply. A childhood memory surged. Me at 10. Clutching a gift bought with chore money, a vintage Western novel I'd overheard Mom say she loved from her rodeo days. I'd wrapped it clumsily. She opened it, smiled faintly, sweet, then set it aside. I thought, next year, better. This year, I'd tracked down a signed first edition. When she unwrapped it, her eyes lit. Oh, Sophia, you remember everything. My gut twisted. The tag? Not my handwriting. Sophia's name taped over mine. Later, in the kitchen washing up because no one else did, I confronted her. Why switch the tag? She didn't glance up from her phone. It fit better that way. Fit better with your name? I pressed. She chuckled. Emily, you're too sentimental. It's just a book. No, it was intention. A bridge I tried to build. She stole that. Made my effort seem foolish. Back in bed, I flipped through more posts. My head peeking in one frame, an arm cropped in another, always peripheral. Never core. I shut the app.
Toss the phone.
Stared at the ceiling fan, whirring like my thoughts. That's when I rose, silent as a shadow, and finished packing. Clothes from the closet, boots under the bed, the spare charger I'd left out of habit. The lotion in the bathroom drawer. Untouched but relocated. Every trace of me. Gathered without a sound. Closing the tailgate. I glanced at the house. Lights spilling out like nothing had shifted. But it had. Next year, no cropping, I'd be gone before dawn. All they'd have left were the echoes they ignored. The morning after dragged in under a hazy sky, the air thick with leftover smoke from the fire pit. Breakfast was sluggish. I lingered upstairs, dreading the small talk. When I came down, my spot at the counter remained the same. Sophia's voice hit first, spinning a yarn from last night that somehow spotlighted her savvy. Dad laughed, tapping his mug. Mom nodded along, like harmony was her duty. I poured coffee quietly. You know, I said after a beat, my voice slicing the air. That book for Mom, the Western classic? My tag got swapped. And the photos? I'm missing on purpose. Fork stilled. Mom avoided my eyes. Sophia rolled hers.
Oh.
Emily. Not the drama again. Can we skip the pity party? It's not pity, I said steadily. Just wondering if anyone saw it. Dad cleared his throat. But Sophia jumped in. You're always making mountains out of molehills. The tension coiled in my chest. But I held it. Inside.
Though.
It burned. Why did I keep hoping they'd see me? Why chase validation from people who rewrote me as the outsider? The words hung there, unmet by any real response. Dad muttered something about family quirks, but it landed flat. Sophia just smirked and changed the subject to her next flip. I didn't push. Pushing never worked. Instead, I nursed my coffee, the bitterness mirroring the knot in my gut. Why did I keep showing up, year after year, only to be sidelined? Was it loyalty, or just fear of letting go? The question swirled, heavier than the desert heat outside. As plates cleared, I slipped away to the porch, the screen door creaking like an accusation. The vast Arizona landscape stretched before me, red rocks, sparse scrub, endless sky. It should have felt freeing, but it amplified the isolation gnawing inside. I'd built a life in Denver, steady clients, a condo with mountain views, friends who celebrated my wins. Yet here, I was still the unsettled one, the daughter who didn't fit the ranch mold. Sophia's barbs weren't new. They'd sharpened over years.
But tonight,
they cut deeper, exposing the raw truth. I wasn't just overlooked, I was expendable. A memory flooded back, the time I covered Sophia's down payment on her first property flip. She'd called in tears, behind on bills after a bad deal. I wired the money, no questions, thinking that's what sisters do. She thanked me once, then never mentioned it again. Instead, she paraded her self-made success at every gathering. Did it hurt? Yes. But more. It hollowed me out, making me question if my kindness was weakness. Mom always said, blood runs thick, but theirs felt diluted when it came to me. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the family group chat, full of Sophia's updates. Dad's ranch photos. Lily's school pics. My messages? Read. Rarely replied. I drafted. I've given more than you've seen. Time to stop. But I deleted it. Vulnerability felt like surrender. Instead, I blocked the thread, the soft click echoing in my mind. Freedom or finality?
both.
Maybe. Back inside. Dessert wrapped up with Sophia's inspirational, close, something about grit in the face of dust storms. Laughter followed. I excused myself early, claiming a headache. In the guest room, I lay awake, replaying every slight. The cropped photos, The stolen credit. The silent approvals from Mom and Dad. It wasn't rage boiling up, it was resolve. Cold and clear as a mountain stream. I'd stop begging for a seat at their table. I'd build my own. Dawn broke with golden light filtering through the blinds. I loaded the last bag into my truck, the engine purring softly as I pulled away. No goodbyes, they'd notice soon enough. Hours later, I arrived at the cabin in the foothills near Flagstaff, a property Grandpa had left me in his will. Notarized and ironclad, unknown to the rest. The keys felt solid in my hand, a promise kept. Inside, the air was fresh with pine, the space simple, wooden beams, a stone hearth, views of ponderosa forests. No family portraits, no expectations, just mine. I unpacked methodically, each item a step toward reclaiming myself. Why had I hidden this inheritance? Fear of their jealousy? Or hope they'd value me without it? Grandpa had seen me, the quiet one with big dreams. You're the steady hand, Emily, he'd said before his passing. The deed. The attached investment account, it wasn't revenge, it was security. I opened my laptop. Notifications flooding in, client praises, a speaking invite. I started a new doc, erased from the family frame, rebuilding what they broke. Words poured out, raw and real. By dusk, I hit save. A weight lifting. 2 days on, my editor called. This could resonate wide, she said. I sat at a local diner. Coffee steaming. The scent of fresh tortillas grounding me. The piece went live. Western heiress reveals family betrayal and quiet triumph. Comments rolled in. I've been the invisible one too. Strength in silence. Even from strangers. It validated what I'd buried. Then Sophia's post appeared, her posing at a scenic overlook, my cabin's view in the background. Caption. Grateful for roots that run deep. Western legacy. My pulse quickened. She didn't know it was mine, but the audacity burned. Comments exploded under hers. Isn't that Emily's place? Read her article. Tag the real owner. She edited, then deleted. I didn't gloat, just breathed. That afternoon, a message from an old friend of Mom's. We only heard Sophia's side. Saw the... I replied. Truth has a way of surfacing. More reached out, neighbors, mentors. I answered kindly, not for them, but for me, proof I'd outgrown the shadows. Around sunset, a Slack ping, Samuel Harlan left a voicemail. Wants a consult. Dad. I skimmed the transcript, saw the piece. We need to talk. My heart stuttered. After all the silences. Now this? I dialed. The line crackling like old static. Emily, he said. Voice gravelly, as ever. Dad.
No wotems.
I read it. Well done.
But.
Off guard. That's not the point. I cut in.
Pause.
I should have stepped up. Wasn't always there. You were there, I said. When Sophia mocked me. When tags got switched. You just watched. Silence stretched. We mess up. Habits. Pressures. Did you know about the ring? The line went dead quiet. The one Grandma left me?
Yeah.
Exhale. Complicated. Always is for those dodging fallout, I replied. You let them redefine me. Like I didn't matter. He cleared his throat. Not arguing. Maybe move on. You moved on without me long ago, I said. I'm catching up.
Click. No theirs.
No victory, just wholeness. That night, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. A photo, Lily holding an envelope. Her mom's script on front. Message. She wanted you to have this. My breath caught. I opened it later, alone by the fire. The envelope trembled slightly in my hands, the paper worn from time. Mom's handwriting, elegant loops I'd forgotten, stared back. For Emily.
No fanfare.
Just fact. Inside. No letter. No regrets. A legal addendum to her trust. Dated 6 months back. I was named primary beneficiary. The ranch shares. Residual investments. Even oversight of the family charitable fund. Notarized. Witnessed. Binding under Arizona law. Everything she'd withheld in life. Granted in quiet ink. Why now? Guilt? Or a final acknowledgement? It didn't erase the hurts. But it shifted something, a recognition I'd craved. I sat with it through the night. Flames crackling in the hearth. Justice wasn't fireworks, it was this. Paper trails proving worth. The next week, I walked into the Family Foundation meeting in a Tucson conference room. Polished wood. Plaques of Harlan Ranch history. Sophia was there, poised as ever. Dad, too, looking smaller. I set my folder down, took the head seat. Under the revised trust, I said evenly, I'm now chair. Sophia blinked. Dad leaned forward. You can't just. I slid copies across. Signatures. Transfers. Bylaws. It's legal.
Done.
The room hushed. You don't get to sideline me anymore, not emotionally. Not financially.
No shouts.
Just facts. At the close, as I gathered papers, the door creaked. Lily entered, clutching a small box. Found this in Grandma's things, she whispered. She kept your stuff. Inside. Notes I'd sent. Emails printed. Even a faded drawing from when I was 8. My throat tightened. You're the only one who didn't forget, I said. She hugged me tight, real and unscripted. That evening, back at the cabin, I sorted through an old album I'd stashed away. Page by page. The faces blurred with memories, good mixed with bad. I didn't burn it for spite. I let it go for peace. Watching pages curl in the fire pit under stars. Emptiness didn't follow. Completion did. I emailed the family. We're connected by paper, but that's ending. Dissolving joint holdings. Then I executed it. Accounts closed. Access revoked. My path cleared. A month later, in a Denver podcast studio with city views, the host asked, "What's toughest about cutting family ties?" I paused. Realizing belonging isn't about their approval. It's claiming your space. Even alone. We wrapped. The host whispered. Powerful. I nodded. Pen tapping. Mom's gift wasn't assets, it was agency. And with each signature, I sealed my freedom. But freedom brought questions. Days blurred into client calls. Hikes in the pines. Quiet evenings with books. Yet the addendum lingered in my mind. Why me? Had Mom seen my struggles all along? Or was this her way of balancing scales? Doubt crept in. Was I too harsh? Blocking bridges before they burned? One afternoon, walking a trail near the cabin, the wind whispering through junipers, I let the thoughts flood. I'd given so much funds, time, heart, only to be diminished. But holding grudges? That chained me too. A call came from Dad again. Weeks later. Emily, can we meet? Neutral ground. Hesitation gripped me. Part of me wanted to hang up, preserve the walls. But another whispered, maybe endings aren't absolute. We met at a roadside diner halfway between Tucson and Flagstaff, neutral. Like he said. He looked older, lines deeper around his eyes. I messed up, he started.
No preamble.
Let things slide. Habits die hard on the ranch. I sipped coffee, waiting. The ring, your grandma's. I knew Sophia pawned it. Should have stopped her. The admission hit soft, like rain after drought. Why now? I asked. He shrugged. Your article made me see the blind spots. We pushed you out, thinking you'd always come back. Silence settled. I don't need apologies, I said. Just understanding. He nodded.
Fair.
And Lily misses you. My heart softened at her name. Me too. We didn't hug, didn't promise reunions. But as I drove away, the knot loosened. Not fixed, but acknowledged. Sophia messaged next. Read it all. Sorry for everything. Curt, but a start. I replied, let's talk sometime. No rush, healing wasn't overnight. Back at the cabin, I revisited the trust docs. Mom's choice wasn't pity, it was faith in my strength. I donated part to local charities, women's shelters, youth programs, turning legacy into good. At a family barbecue months later, tentative invites accepted, I sat at the main table. No toast to me, but no erasures either. Sophia shared credit for once. Emily helped with that flip years back. Small, but real. Lily tugged my sleeve. You're back. I smiled. Never really left, just needed space. Inside,
Peace bloomed.
family wasn't perfect bonds, it was choosing forgiveness. Learning growth. I'd walked away to find myself. Returned stronger. The West taught that. Wide spaces for second chances. As seasons turned, I balanced work with visits. Conflicts arose, old habits, but we talked through them. Dad shared stories of Grandpa, bridging gaps. Sophia opened up about her pressures, humanizing her.
Maman's absence lingée.
But her gift sparked change. One crisp fall day, hiking with Lily in the canyons, she asked, "Why'd you write that article?" I paused, red rocks glowing under the sun. To show it's okay to stand up, even against family. But also, to forgive when ready. She nodded, wise beyond years. I'm glad you're here. Me too.
Kid.
The foundation thrived under my lead, grants for rural education. Conservation. Dad joined a meeting. Offered input without overriding. Proud of you, he said quietly after. Words I'd waited for. Landing soft. Sophia and I collaborated on a property project, not as rivals, but partners. Tensions eased, replaced by cautious respect. Yet the deepest shift was internal. No more chasing approval, I own my worth. The cabin became a retreat. Not escape, friends visited. Stories shared around the fire. One evening, journaling by the window, I reflected. Pain forged resilience, but compassion healed it. Family drama didn't define me. Rising above did. Holidays came again. The ranch alive with lights strung on cacti. I arrived early, helped with brisket. My name on the seating chart, center table. Sophia raised a glass. To all of us. Flaws and all. Laughter followed. Genuine. Lily squeezed my hand. Mom's spirit felt present. Her trust a bridge. But lessons lingered. Speak truths kindly. Listen deeply. Erasing hurts, but rebuilding mends. In the vast West, where horizons stretch endless, I learned space allows growth for everyone. As the year closed, I published a follow-up. From betrayal to bonds, a Western family's redemption. The comments praise the hope. Shows forgiveness wins. Indeed. Life wasn't revenge. It was renewal. I'd been cropped out, but stepped back in, Frame widened for all. Looking ahead. Uncertainties remained. Old wounds might reopen. But armed with empathy, we'd navigate. The article's last line. In family, as in the wilds, storms pass. What endures is the choice to shelter together. And so, under Arizona stars, I breathed easy. Not perfect, but whole.